All right. Welcome, everyone, to Blue Collar Startup, the podcast where hard work meets big ideas. This is your home for real talk, real stories, and real strategies from the front lines of life in the business of the trades. I'm your host, or one of them, I should say, Mike Nelson from Five Towers Media.
And I'm your other host, Derek Foster of Daigle Cleaning Systems, Care Clean of Saratoga. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Just fresh off of many hours of snow moving and shoveling and snow blowing with I don't know, almost foot of snow that we got over here in Saratoga County.
Yeah, I heard and we where I was, we didn't end up with any. And I was in the snow belt yesterday and making the trip back, and I was waiting for a huge snowstorm but didn't see any. And then I heard, Saratoga, you guys got hit pretty good. So
We got crushed.
winter's here early.
Yeah, we got crushed. I've got a roof that the snow does not shed off of the roof. I got to go out and shovel it, and it's easily over a foot because I didn't touch it after the last storm.
You got one of those roof rakes?
No,
No.
no. I shouldn't say that. I have one. It doesn't do shit. It like the angle of where you're at on the ground versus where the roof is, the length of the roof rake, the whole thing. Like you can get like the top 2 inches, but as soon as you need to like really get some snow off it, it doesn't work. So I got to go up there with a shovel. I pitch the snow off the roof onto the ground. Then I got to come back through and shovel and snow blow to get it off the patio. It's a pain in the ass.
Well, if I can give you some advice, it would be don't fall.
Good advice.
Wear a harness, right? Tie off.
I
Good
actually
Lord.
fell on the roof because it's a seamed metal roof.
Yep.
So like
Even worse.
once you get underneath the snow, man, it is so slick.
Yep.
And last year, I knew it was going to happen eventually, and I like did the whole thing where you're up in the air and you come down and like right the one of the seams in the roof like right into my arm, and I was like, oh my god, I just broke my arm. It hurt so bad I thought I broke my arm, but no breakage, just a nice bruise, and hopefully I don't do that again. But
Yeah, yeah. Don't
what
you don't
about you, man? You're kind of fresh back from vacation.
yeah, we decided to pack up and go away for the holiday, Thanksgiving, and it was nice, but still playing catch up, and it's good to be back too. It's always nice to come home. So
Isn't that the worst about being, and this is for anyone considering owner business ownership, vacations are the worst. And like you have to like triple the work you do before you go on vacation so you can enjoy the vacation. And then when you get back, you got to dig out. It's like you got to again, you got to triple your work effort for the week or two after you get back. There's such a cost to going on vacation, man.
I did a lot of the work up front this time just because I did want to, spend as much time as I could, with the kids and whatnot. But um, I still stay on my email a couple times a day, making sure that things are going well, people are communicating and we're getting done what we need to. It never really goes away. And honestly, I'm able to stay on top of things. So if a customer or client needs something, we can get right on it. I'd rather do that than come back to, seeing things that might have slipped through and it's my mentality. That's how I've always been. So I stay caught up and
Yeah,
it's not as bad when you get back, but there's still definitely enough to do
enough to do.
to
Yeah.
get back to where I was.
So obviously that we're not talking about vacations, but I know today's show we're going to talk. We had a guest on a few weeks back talking about robotics and robotics in the trades, and we wanted to kind of do a follow up episode and bring you on and talk about it because you have implemented some of these solutions in your company. And so I want to get into that. But before we do, for some of our newer listeners, I thought maybe what we should do first, D, is kind of back up and just kind of give them a quick overview of who you are, Daigle Cleaning Systems, and and then we'll get into the robotics side.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've owned and operated Daigle Cleaning Systems with my mother Michelle since 2011. We've grown over the course of time, and if anybody wants to hear the full story, jump on the Blue Collar podcast and take a listen. it's been a really fun journey. I love the industry. I love working with people. I love seeing people grow and develop, through the organization. We work with a ton of wonderful clients, and it's really we have a lot of fun doing it. We provide complete building cleaning services, window cleaning, carpets, floor care, post-construction cleaning services. Really, we're problem solvers in the world of cleaning is how we like to look at it. So if a customer comes to us with an issue or needs something fixed or a solution put in place, we can typically find the answer, and we don't like to say no. So, that's really what we do. We are starting to get into some different verticals within the industry. We started kitchen exhaust hood cleaning portion of our business a couple years ago. That's been going really well. We've grown quite a bit on that end. We service restaurants and maintain their exhaust hood cleaning compliance for the jurisdictions locally, and that's been a lot of fun as well. Something new, different, exciting, but still within the same realm of what we're doing, and we're always looking for ways to improve our services, to offer new services that benefit our current customers, and better ways to do things. So, that kind of ties into the robotics portion of it, Mike, that you brought up, and Bob Caldarella, who was on the show. I've known him for a while now, and I've learned a lot from him. He is an expert when it comes to robotics and implementing them, not so much back of house, but now in front of house operations for businesses of all shapes and sizes. So, back of house, traditionally, you would look at a production line or, even back of house in a hospital. They've been using robots for a number of years to perform surgeries and complete different tasks in a hospital setting, right? But now the shift is starting to move to where these robots are so sophisticated that they can actually work alongside employees and be a complement to their current job role. And they're also customer facing because they can be in the waiting rooms, they can be at the front of the restaurant, they can be in the lobby of a building vacuuming a floor. So you're starting to see the progression in that industry. And I've learned a ton from Bob and his team at Clear Focus, and we've implemented a number of those robots into some of our facilities for customers who it was a good solution for. Again, we're always looking for ways to improve what we're doing, ways to ultimately reduce operating costs, be able to save our customers some money while delivering a better result. And it's been a key part of what we've been doing for the last year and a half. So,
Yeah. So I've got a couple questions on the robots. I want to back up real quick. I know you've been in business since 2011, and I think, was it 4 years ago that you bought another cleaning company in the area?
it was not the ideal time. It was during COVID. I want to say 2021, 2022, right in that time
2020.
frame.
Yeah, somewhere around there. It was close to around the time we started the podcast. Like it was a little
Yes.
bit before that, but uh,
Yep.
yeah. So and it's Care Clean of Saratoga.
Yeah, so I was introduced actually through a customer of ours to one of their clients, and she had been in the industry for a period of time, and was looking to do some different things, had a couple other business ventures going on that she wanted to get involved with, and we met, and we actually ended up taking over her staff and book a business and allowing her to be able to retire. And that was the first time that I had ever done something like that. So completely
Yeah.
outside of my wheelhouse. I kind of learned as I went. Um, but we were able to work together and do what was best for the customers and her employees, and it worked for everybody. So uh, worked out good, and we rebranded the original company was Care Clean, so we just added Care Clean Saratoga,
Mhm.
and we brought that and added it to our brands. Seeing as we do service Saratoga, we do a lot of work north of the Twin Bridges, from Clifton Park all the way up north to Warrensburg. So we are, expanding in those areas. A lot of people think because we're based out of Albany that, that's our main market, but we cover the entire capital region.
Hmm. Hmm. I know I want to, excuse me, I want to do a separate, entire separate episode with you talking about the acquisition itself. I think that that's a really interesting topic, and for companies that are out there in the trades that are looking for expansion ideas, obviously you can grow through new client acquisition, but you can also grow through buying other businesses and adding them to your portfolio. And I want to spend some time on that, but obviously today we're talking about robots.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
but you know, I just wanted to touch on that before we move back to robots, though. When you integrated Care Clean of Saratoga into Daigle Cleaning Systems, did that? Because you're what? You're 200 employees right now.
Yeah, now we're right around that 200 mark, a little bit
Yeah.
over.
And did that did it give a big boost to the employee count, or was it?
Not really. With that one, that was we ended up with probably 10 new staff members, some full-time, some part-time. Um, again, I mentioned earlier, I love watching people grow, and we actually have our director of operations now, Jamie Crum. She'll be embarrassed that I'm mentioning her name here, but we should really get her on the show as well at some point. Um, she's been an integral part of helping us grow over the years, and she's grown a lot personally, and has done the work to get to the next level. She started off and came on board with us from that deal where she was a technician and was cleaning post-construction houses. And I saw that she had some basic skills that could be developed, and now she's our director of operations. You fast forward 4 years,
Yeah,
and it's incredible to watch the growth of people when they have the opportunity in front of them. You know, as much as anybody, you can put the opportunities out in front of people all day long, but at the end of the day, it's up to them to seize the opportunity, put the time in, put the effort in. Just like anything in life, if you want to be successful, you have to work hard at it, put yourself in a position to be successful and do the work. And she's
yeah,
done it. So, again, from that standpoint, it was very valuable, the employees that we did bring on.
yeah. Amazing.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me go off on that tangent. I just wanted to make sure I asked about CareClean. And again, I want to do a whole episode just on business acquisition and what that looks like. I'd love to hear about your experience going through that, especially for the first time. Um, so you were mentioning the robots, and one that really popped in my brain was you were talking about hospitals and waiting rooms and having robots being able to be like around people, like in a waiting room or whatever.
Yeah.
Just tell me how that works. Like you got people walking through a waiting room, you got this little robot scooting around. Like, how does that not like run into people or do it safely?
We could do a whole I could talk for days on this, but so real high level. The robots are there's a couple different things. They will do exactly what you tell them to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you take it out of the box, the robot just goes and does its thing. It doesn't work that way. So there's human interaction with the robot.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've done on our end is created a position within our company where, we have somebody who's a robotics expert, and we train them, and we give them the tools that they need. They have to do the work again, back to that. But they learn how the robots operate. They learn what needs to be done. But long story short, you take the robot out of the box and then you tell it what to do. And they are very literal. So they will do exactly what you tell them to do when you tell them to do it. And the memory on the robot. So picture a full computer, touchscreen tablet computer built into the robot, and that's exactly where the technology is today. A few years ago, that wasn't there. Now, the interface on these is so complex and so well developed that, in our world, we create a full map of whatever building or facility is there. Terry Hubbard from Peak Environmental, he talked a little bit about it with the lawn care robots. They
Hmm.
run off of a satellite. So, the satellite, it shoots up a signal to the satellite, generates a map of the area based on the cameras of the robot. Similar concept indoors. What you need to do is select your starting point. So you scan a QR code essentially wherever you want that point to be. And then you move the robot throughout the space and it generates a map with LiDAR technology. So it'll shoot out, LiDAR and sound waves and develop that map. Once you have a map developed, you then, whatever area or task you want it to do, you create that, in our case, a cleaning area, right? So you actually physically can draw that on the touchscreen and you create that box. You add any fall zones, any specific things that need to be blocked off, or areas that may not be needed to be done. And you create that cleaning area. You put a task to it. So the robots that we have, his name's Scrubby, by the way, our 4-in-1
Gubby.
our 4-in-1. I didn't come up with the name. It is trademarked though, by the manufacturer. But um, we, you program them and you have the starting point. You create the map. You select a task. So the 4-in-1 robot, it sweeps, damp mops, and auto scrubs floors, and vacuums carpet, as well as scrubs tile and grout. So it'll actually perform 4 different functions. So once you have your area mapped out, then you select whatever function you want it to do in that area. It saves all of this on its own internal memory, but it can also be uploaded into the cloud, via Wi-Fi. So the robots run off of Wi-Fi indoors, or they can run off a mobile hotspot, whatever the setup is. Um, and then you're set. You can schedule a time for it to go out and do that task in that area. You can schedule multiple different tasks to be done in different areas. And really, you work with the robot to customize it up front to what you need it to do. And
Hmm.
it will do exactly that. No more, no less. The functionality is incredible. So, we did a demo um, for a potential large customer in the healthcare space the last couple of days, and they were like, "Yeah, we're a little concerned about salt in our entryways." And we said, okay, it happened to be snowing, so there's salt all over the sidewalks. So we said, okay, we'll go out and we'll manually vacuum it with the robot. And we picked up 2 trays of salt that was embedded in the carpet that a normal vacuum wouldn't pick up. So the functionality of the machines is just as good as the technology. HEPA filters, solid components. I mean, they're really, really well built machines, and it's all there now. A few years ago, it probably wasn't all there, but it's gotten to the point that the technology can save real labor and fill a lot of gaps where, facilities might be lacking, due to labor shortages or just due to other time constraints, certain areas not being able to be accessed by a human at certain points. You put a robot there, and guess what? That's automated. So
Hmm.
there's a number of different things. And for us that we found, not every facility is a good fit. You have to have large open areas. It doesn't completely replace the human. I don't think it ever will. Um, in our industry, they are developing a robot to clean bathrooms, but it's not quite there yet.
Yeah.
So again, there's that human robot interaction and working it into the program to say, okay, well, the robot's going to take care of all of the stuff that can be automated, but we still need a human to vacuum under the desks, to vacuum
Hmm.
under the chairs, to take care of the high dusting, to take care of the spot glass cleaning, right? There's so many different things that happen within a facility. You plug it in where you can, you automate what you can, and then the rest is supplemented by human labor. Um, they
Yeah.
there's robots for parking garages, for sweeping parking lots, warehouses. There's one for secure delivery. There's a wheeled out meat product that's out there that'll do heavy lift and will carry carts and transport materials and supplies from one end of a warehouse or a healthcare facility to another without a human touching it. It knows where to go. It's programmed. It goes. And I mean, some of these employees are walking hundreds of miles a week,
Oh yeah.
right? And that, in the long run, it wears out the employee, could become a comp case. There's a number of things that, you know, the robots will save in the long run and allow the humans to do the work that requires thinking, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, it does. It actually reminds me of the conversation with Terry that we had with the Mobots, where he was saying that rather than worrying about his team members doing a lot of the just the mow and go type work, it allowed his team members to focus on more detailed stuff, more like to your point, more thinking work, right? Like the landscaping and the mulching and whatever's going on, right? So it kind of sounds same thing for you. Is it the scrubby is handling a lot of the um, mopping the floor, right? So scrubby's mopping the floor for you while your team gets to go then focus on the detail work. I would have to.
Absolutely.
It's going to increase their time of production because now they don't have to worry about doing that whole work. It's happening at the same time. So now you're less invasive with your clients because you're there for a shorter amount of time. Uh,
Yeah. So to go back to your question about wouldn't they run into people?
yeah.
So all of the robots are built with cameras 360 degrees around, at least the ones that, we work with. And I have yet to even see them come close to hitting anybody. There's settings built in that will detect motion or an object 5 to 10 feet in front of them.
Mhm.
And you can choose for whether you want the robot to stop and divert, to gradually divert and go around the obstacle, um, or just stop completely. You have that choice as the operator. It'll document in its memory that exact spot in the map where it had to divert, and it will go back and clean that spot when it's clear.
Really?
It will, yeah. So that's what I mean by the functionality of these being so sophisticated at this point. And we've had at different conference, we did the healthcare conference a few months ago. We had our ultraviolet disinfection robot in the booth with Scrubby, and we programmed Scrubby to have a cleaning area, and we just let Violet run around and move around however it wanted to. They never hit in a 10 by 10 area. They came close, but they never would touch each other.
Interesting.
It was very impressive.
It's pretty
Um,
wild. It's
it
pretty.
is, and for us, I really like the technology aspect of it and figuring out how we can deliver for our customers and move them into the future. That's exciting to me.
Mhm.
So if we have the ability now to even facilities with their own EVS staff or their own janitorial programs, we can go in, take a look, and help them figure that out. So now we have the ability to help not only the customers that our traditional services were a good fit for, but now we have the ability to help folks who had a different solution put in place and work with them to help institute that within their own program. So it's
Mhm.
really opened a lot of doors for us over the past year or so.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's. I know you and I have obviously had conversations about this stuff, and I thought one of the interesting things about this was, and to exactly what you're talking about is, even if, well, I should back up a little bit. Previously, before you implementing this solution in your business, if you went to a company that already had their own in-house maintenance staff, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, we have our own. We do it in-house. We don't need you, right?" And now the door's shut, and there's no business relationship there. But
Yep.
this gives you the opportunity to say, "Hey, I'm not here to replace your staff. We're going to augment what they're doing to make them be able to focus on detail work while Scrubby and Violet handle these things." And I just thought that that was really cool. Or in the case where someone is having trouble staffing their maintenance department or their janitorial department, right? And you can
Yeah.
go in and either support them with your humans and your robots or just augment them with robots. And now that staffing problem is solved. So it sounds really wild, man. Like what a
Yeah, we could be a resource. And, again, I love talking about this stuff. So if anybody does want to reach out and have a conversation, see if robots are right for your facility. I mean, happy to talk to anybody about it, but it really is a good way to solve a lot of problems quickly
Mhm.
and with intention. And yes, there's a cost to the robots. The return and the value that we see, it's paid back in 6, 7 months. So, at the end of the day, now you own an asset that is now producing and able to do, let's say you have a staff member who goes and vacuums a carpet once a day. Well, now for a fixed cost, you can go and vacuum that carpet 3 times a day
Mhm.
with zero additional cost to your bottom line. So it's just a more efficient way to operate. And it's exciting. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even in janitorial, but it sounds really cool. The question I had for you is, let's pretend, again, waiting room, someone spills an iced tea. Like, can you do like an on-spot thing where you like trigger the robot to go out and clean that?
So you could. The new version of Scrubby, the Scrubby Pro, actually has spot cleaning detection built into its AI platform.
Okay.
So as it goes and moves throughout a facility, it can identify spots, spills, and stains, target them, and clean them. However, that area would need to be programmed as part of that cleaning area that I mentioned before.
Got
So there's two things. You can either, yes, have the robot take care of that when it gets to it, but if somebody spills an iced tea on the carpet, most of our customers are like, hey, we got something going on here. Can you get somebody over to take care of it? And it's like, yeah, we're on it. So again, the traditional method, the robot's probably not ideal for that, right? Now, you can use the robot manually as well to go over and use it as a machine to go machine scrub that spot on your carpet, treat it, and take care of it in the moment. But you still need the human behind it.
Still need the human there. Okay.
Sure.
All right. So us humans are safe at least for a little while longer, anyway.
Yeah, listen, I don't, again, there's always going to be the critical thinking aspects of any job, right? Are
Mhm.
always going to be, or the areas that are difficult to access or are not commonplace, repetitive, mundane tasks, there's always going to be the human element.
Mhm.
So at least in our business, I know it, and I see it as an opportunity for people, who are interested, in robotics to really get involved and learn. There's a big learning curve. I mean, we've been learning these machines for a couple years now, and
Mhm.
are finally, and there's new things that we discover every time we go out and try to solve a problem with them. Oh, I didn't know it could do that. Well, there you go, and there is a long learning curve, and anybody that is interested, I would encourage them again, if you want to reach out, I'm happy to have the conversations, but there is going to be a big opportunity, I think, over the next few years, for people who know how to operate these robots.
Um, I'm curious from for our listeners that maybe they have a janitorial company, they're thinking about introducing this into the picture, but still trying to figure out like where they would use it. I guess along those lines, I actually have a couple of questions. Number one, like what kind of businesses are you working? I know we said healthcare, so like hospitals and your urgent care facility or whatever. What other kind of buildings are you putting these things in?
Office buildings has been the latest. It has to be the right fit. Again, depending on the amount of open space and the ability to see a real labor savings or reallocation of labor, it's important. So, you can't just go through and stick a robot in any building and say, okay, we're set, right? There's a lot of strategic planning. There's a lot of partnership with the customer to walk them through the process and show them and get them to believe in the technology and what's there. So it's not just, hey, here's what we're doing. It's really there's got to be buy-in, on the part of the customer as well, and they got to have confidence, right? So we try to walk them through the process as simply as we can, show them the robots, show them other cases where, hey, we've had a lot of success here with this, and we make it interactive for the customer. It's not always the case. Not everybody has time for that, but I do recommend for anybody who is a facilities manager or in facilities management or operations management to start taking a look at some of this stuff because it is going to become relevant very, very quickly. Um, and the only way to make an informed decision is to understand how the technology works from a basic level and just to look across your own horizon and see what's there and where that could maybe eliminate some of the sticking points for your team.
Mm-hmm. For our listeners that maybe have a janitorial company, or maybe they're thinking about starting one or whatever, do you think that, let's pretend I've got a small residential cleaning company, I want to get into the commercial space, and would implementing the robotic solution help them to be able to perform there, or is there too much of a
So
learning curve? Do you?
you're talking about two different things. So the residential cleaning side of the business, which we do, we have uh, a lot of residential clients, and we go in, we'll clean their houses monthly, biweekly, weekly. Brittany, who's our local franchisee, she's done a great job building her business and working with our systems and processes. And, she's done a really nice job, but two different animals, two different types of businesses. One is, more structured around a smaller environment, right? Where there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
personal belongings, there's, a lot of furniture and you know, dishes around, right? So it's a different setting and it's a different
Yeah,
scope
yeah,
of
yeah.
work. It's a different frequency, and then when you jump to the commercial side, it's more wide open space, larger facilities. Um, for somebody who's newer to that, it could be overwhelming to take a look at it. And you really have to you know, understand. And it took years and years to learn and develop the processes that we have now for the commercial facilities compared to the residential houses that we started with and, that we have serviced for years. So you have to crawl before you can walk, in other words. And, you know,
Okay.
working with customers, there might be different objectives that they need to accomplish, right? A homeowner is probably going to have a different set of expectations or results that they want to see compared to a commercial facilities manager. So
Mm-hmm.
you're dealing with two different types of individuals who are looking for two different types of things. And typically in a commercial building, there's more than just emptying the garbage and cleaning. Like there's security that you have to worry about, making sure buildings are secured, lights are off. Um, Carpet cleaning and maintenance becomes part of the regular service. Window cleaning, floor care, all of those things need to go into a commercial building on a regular basis in order to keep that building looking its best. You're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with, 100 people going in and out of a building as opposed to 3 or 4 people in and out of a residential home. So the
Yep.
best advice I could give is, you know, you have to don't be afraid to jump into it, but there is a learning curve and you have to start somewhere and you have to be open to adapting your thought process to meet whatever the expectations are of the client.
Okay. So and for, let's just say, for again, for our listeners, and is that something that you guys are helping people do that are obviously not direct competitors in your market?
Yeah,
uh,
I mean, listen, we have our franchising system and we've been operating that for 7, 8 years now.
yeah.
So, we currently have two franchise locations, one here locally in the capital region, and then one in Westchester County, downstate.
Mhm.
Uh, Tom's down there and he's mainly on the commercial side. He's gotten into kitchen exhaust hood cleaning. We've helped him grow into that segment as well. And, you know, they own and operate their own entity. They're motivated, driven individuals who have goals that they want to accomplish and we gave them the guidelines and the processes to be able to make it happen.
Mhm.
Uh, I made a lot of mistakes over the years, Mike. Like I've learned the hard way. And, we try to take those learning lessons and mistakes and we turn them into processes. And that's really what our franchise system is about, is taking the guesswork out of it for people who want to get into the industry and the business. And they still have to put in the work, but they can avoid a lot of the costly mistakes that typically happen with learning on your own. That
Hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah, man, no, it makes perfect sense. Um, so what about from let me ask from a customer standpoint. So, I think we talked about banks, healthcare, schools, like colleges and things like that.
Yeah, so I mean, really, the sky's the limit. We're seeing a lot of interest in on the robotic side, from colleges, from schools. It's ideal for them because they're big, wide open spaces and they can automate a lot of the work there. But yeah, we service all of those.
And what are
There's
some,
really no limitation.
if let's just pretend I'm the facilities manager at one of those kinds of locations, like what would be the signifying symptoms or triggers that I might want to talk to you about robotics and automation?
If you're having trouble accomplishing what you need to on a daily basis with the staff that you currently have, and there are tasks that can be automated, how much time do you have a technician vacuuming carpets on a weekly basis? How
Mhm.
much time do you have them auto scrubbing and pushing a walk behind scrubber? All those things can be automated and, relatively quickly, you can have a fleet of robots to do the work of positions that of staff members that you can't fill that position or you're having a hard time filling that position, or you simply you don't want to. A lot of folks, and you know this from blue collar. I forget what the stat was, but how many blue collar workers are going to be retiring over the next, you know, 10
2.2
years,
million every year.
right? So, okay, where's all that labor going to come from? And yes, obviously the trade schools and everybody's doing their part on that end, and we're trying to help that cause by bringing awareness to it. There's a lot of careers there, but there's also a lot of roles and tasks that are done that can be done more efficiently and can be automated.
Mhm.
Not all of them, right? But a good amount can be with the right tools and the right robotics in place. So it'll be interesting to see, how that all works out, but it's definitely a possible solution. And to anybody who is looking at, outsourcing their facility services, one thing that, I think is important, the ISSA, who is the governing body of the cleaning industry, they have their SIM standard, which is the cleaning industry management standard. And there's only a couple companies locally that have that certification. We're one of them, and you really want to take a look at that and make sure that they have that stamp of approval from the ISSA. The reason being is they do a full audit every 2 years of anybody that has that certification. They come in, they audit everything that you do from an operational standpoint, all of your equipment, tools, um, accounting practices and processes, your inventory practices, your customer service practices. They come in and look at everything and they evaluate and give you a grade. And it's a long process to put everything together. They send out an auditor. I think our last auditor came in from Chicago, and they spend a few days with you, and you have to take them around and show them what you are doing. If you don't meet the standard, you don't get the certification. So, again, to anybody out there who is looking to outsource that, take a look at that because that is something that, you know, your service provider should have.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought it up because that was one of my next questions was to talk about that.
Hmm.
How long does that like? How difficult is that for you to attain that certification?
It's challenging. It's a lot of time and effort. From our standpoint, we first went through it and received the certification 6 years ago. So it's every 2 years you have to get recertified. April will be our third recertification.
Okay.
So it is a stringent process, but what was fun for us was that I got to get our managers involved and the leaders in the organization. So, they got to come in and see how it went, and they got a good understanding for why the processes are the way they are. And that really helped, I think, open their eyes to why we do things the way we do it.
Hmm.
And, it's been very beneficial for them. They felt involved in the process. And we passed. It worked out well, but it was a lot of preparation, a lot of work up front, a lot of planning. Once we went through it the first time and we were able to show, hey, look, these are our processes, it's the way that we do things. And now that we've gotten all those ironed out and they've been in place now for a period of time, the renewals are much, much easier. So
Hmm.
it's very difficult up front. And then once you go through the process, you learn a lot, fix what needs to be fixed, and move forward. So, the renewal, I actually look forward to it, because again, I get to get people involved in the process, and they have a good understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Amazing. The juice is worth the squeeze.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we had the green building with honor certification as well. So they look at your cleaning chems, your processes for laundering cloths, for example, minor detail, right? But what kind of laundry detergent are you using? What type of setup do you have? How do you separate the incoming cloths from the outgoing cloths? Like, there's a million different things that they take a look at. Are your chems green? Okay, and what about your more aggressive chems, like your toilet bowl acid and toilet bowl cleaner? And a certain percentage of your products can not comply, but it's very, very minimal.
Hmm.
So you have to be very selective with what products you're going to use for which applications. And, luckily the vendors that we work with are great and the products that we work with are fantastic. Um, and it's worked out really well for us. Everything from our carpet shampoo, our carpet cleaning process is green. Um, our
What
VCT floor process.
what happens if you have something that isn't that doesn't comply with their standards? Do they give you an opportunity to change it, or do you just fail the audit?
So they do give you an opportunity, but it's a limited window of time.
Okay.
So, they may ding you on, let's say, for example, they walk through the warehouse and there's a bottle that's not labeled. Okay, well, that's a major red flag. And we actually got dinged on that the last time we went through the process. One of our team members had brought back some product and the label was ripped, like ripped off from the day in the field or whatever it was. And that auditor went back and he's like, "Hey, what's that?" You know, and you apologize and say, "Okay, look, we have a process for it.
Yeah.
This just came back," and they give an opportunity to fix it. So, they're yes, they look at everything. They are fair with it. So it's
Well, that's the point, though, right? Is that they look at everything,
exactly.
right? Like, yeah, and if I remember, like of what you said, is it's they have a list of best practices for the industry based around certain parameters, right? Green
Yep.
chemicals, being safe, and they're going to hold you to that standard. And without that, no one's holding the cleaning company to any standard whatsoever. So, like you could do any practice that may not be good for customers, may not be good for employees, maybe not good for anyone. I mean, I think it sounds pretty amazing.
It's cool. And, the nice part about the ISSA is they're very education heavy.
Mhm.
We use some of their training and certification programs for our supervisors, for our technicians. So, there's certain levels in our career roadmap that we have internally to where certain positions require certain certifications. So we tie the training back in to the position. So the ISSA has been very good at helping with that. I actually went out to their conference this year in Las Vegas. And, again, they have all the latest and greatest. They do a big trade show with a trade show floor, well, the latest and greatest products, but they also have an educational component. So for me, I spent one full day learning from folks that are doing this across the country, different software vendors and different, cleaning product vendors who actually come up and talk about some of the different components and, a lot of useful information that you can sit down and nerd out about,
Hmm.
with our industry. And it's eye-opening. It was cool to see, but they really do have, not only the best intentions in mind for the contractors that are our members, but also the facility managers who are the end recipients of the service.
Hmm.
There's a lot of facility managers that attend that conference as well because they understand the value of it. So
Awesome.
the ISSA essentially does a lot of the homework for them. And that's why I say, if you're a facilities manager or an office manager and you're looking for a company to service your office or your location, you should look at that certification pretty closely.
Okay. D, I know we got to jump over to the Patreon portal section of the episode here for a couple of minutes. But before we go, though, I wanted to ask one final question here in the main episode is, if you were going to tell our listeners, anybody listening to the show right now, one thing about adding automation and robotics to your portfolio of services, what would it be?
Don't be afraid of the technology. It's very easy to get caught up in, I don't know where to start. I know I should do this, but I don't know where to start. There's people that can help you with that. Whether it's us, whether it's Bob at Clear Focus Robotics, there are people who are very well educated in the space and use that as a resource. Start having the conversations. If you identify, the fact that you could automate some of the things and, part of your program, whether it's, in any type of facility, a warehouse, a healthcare facility, an office building, just have the conversation. It may not be a good fit now, or there might be a product that you didn't think of that's actually out there and it
Hmm.
already exists. You just don't know about it. So the only way to learn is to have the conversations and reach out. Happy to talk to anybody, in the robotic space. I really enjoy it. And I'd love to help anybody that I can.
Awesome. D, of course, thank you for humoring me and getting on to talk about robotics.
Yeah, of course.
I also think it's really interesting, and I just think it's something that can help our listeners and also educate people. This is a crossover episode, so we're doing this for blue collar and for buying local. So for our local people that are interested in talking to Derek about how they might be able to implement those uh, robotics and automation systems into their maintenance and janitorial, please reach out. Also, for folks that are listening to us on Buying Local, welcome to the crossover. If this is your first time being exposed to our other podcast, Blue Collar Startup, we are here to empower people into starting businesses and joining the trades. And we also have our Patreon portal, which is where we're going next. It's a member only portal, costs you a whopping $5 a month, but we fill it full of all sorts of other goodies, specifically around helping people grow, scale, sell, market their businesses in the trade. So if that's interesting to you, please click the link in the bio and join up for a membership so you can hear what comes next. If you don't choose to do that, that's okay. We just love you for listening. Thanks for listening to Blue Collar Startup, and you'll hear from us next week.
And that wraps up another episode of Blue Collar Startup. A big thank you to our sponsors, Five Towers Media, Daigle Cleaning Systems, Daigle Fire Solutions, The Michaels Group, Martin Electric, MLB Construction, Bonaccio Construction, Peoplease, and Catamount Consulting for making this podcast possible. And thank you for tuning in. If you learned something or felt inspired, connect with us on our website at bluecollarstartup.io or email us at hardhat.bcsu@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your questions and topic ideas. Help us spread the word by sharing the show and following us on social media for updates. Until next time, keep on building, keep on dreaming, and keep hustling like your future depends on it.